Hello everyone, it's Jill, the Wandering Stamper. Today we're going to have some fun playing with some brand new embossing folders. This is a new hybrid embossing folder that Stampin' Up! Has in their mini catalog. It's called Thoughtful Moments, and the really cool thing is it embosses 10 phrases, but because it's a hybrid embossing folder, it has a die that goes in it that also cuts all of the phrases out at the same time. So you can use this to create a whole sheet of sayings or sentiments, or you can just do one or two at a time using little scraps of paper. So I'm going to take a moment to show you a couple of ways to use this hybrid embossing folder, both coloring and non-coloring, and doing a sheet at a time and doing just a couple at a time. So let me turn the camera down so we can get started and I can show you how versatile this really cool hybrid embossing folder is. Here we go. So check out these products. So this is the embossing folder, and it has 10 phrases in it, and they're very beautiful. They're in both cursive and print. So there's pretty much a saying for whatever you would need. So this is a very thoughtful, well thought out product that Stampin' Up! Has created. And because it's a hybrid, it comes with the dies that will also cut out all of those phrases in the embossing folder. And then they also included several little hearts and butterflies and rainbows and flowers and things like that. I've put mine on a piece of a magnetic sheet to keep them all corralled together. But that's what you get with this bundle. They are bundled, they are offered bundled together because you'll want both of those. And if you're looking for them, they are on page 18 and 19 of the current mini catalog that is good until April. And they also showcase a brayer. The brayer is very cool. Mine is inked up with some pretty peacock because this is what I've been playing with today. But I'm going to show you how to use this brayer. And I love the design of this because they created these little legs here so that when it's still inky, you can just set it on the counter and it won't make a mess. So when you're braying, you have those little legs sticking up, and when they're down, it's the perfect little place to set your brayer while you're working. And that is also on page 18 and 19, you can see. And then there's plenty of examples in the catalog. So having these mini catalogs is also like having plenty of ideas at your hands. So they do also have another hybrid embossing folder. I don't have this one yet, but it's called the Adoring Hearts bundle. There's a stamp set and a hybrid embossing folder which stamps out all these beautiful hearts and embellishments at the same time that you can color them in. So these would work really well together. So we're just going to play with the Thoughtful Moments hybrid embossing folder and the dies, and then also the Stampin' brayer. So let's get started. So first I'm going to show you how to use it. So you want to have some paper to protect your surface. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. The first way I'm going to show you is by just creating, say you just want to have one or two sayings, right? Now I just use this, so I'm going to dab this off a little bit with a baby wipe and make sure I don't have any ink on it. Okay, that's pretty clean. I just keep little baby wipes. You can also rinse these under the sink and they'll rinse right off. But if you just want to do one word, you can just get a piece of scrap paper and just kind of cut it to the size of the word you want to use. So let's just do that for fun so I can show you how this works. I'm just going to do, I think I'm going to do the word hello, and I'm just going to kind of cut a piece of paper, scrap paper that I think will fit there. All right, now you could do this completely without color, and by doing that, what you can do is just you can lay your paper onto your word, close your embossing folder, just like that. And then you're going to get your embossing machine out. Got a lot of things on my table right at the moment. Let me move some. This is my well-loved embossing machine. Now, in a hybrid embossing folder, you're going to use your number 1 plate and your number 4 plate, and you're going to feed it through at the edge. So I just put a piece of paper in here on the word hello, and I'm just going to crank it through. Whew, that was loud. It's a thick folder. All right, so now I've got my word embossed. So you could tear around this and put it right on a card. It'd be really pretty. Or you can get your embossing folder out, and you could, or actually your dies out. And if you wanted to, you could just run this through the die cutter just like you would do any other die. And you would use your regular die cutting plates and just cut that out. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to feed a sheet of paper through, just like you were doing a normal die. Let me get my plates out. So if you were just using a normal die, then I would get a piece of scrap paper out. Let's see if I can find a good one here. And let's see, I'm gonna do that word hello again. I'm just gonna make sure my paper cuts it out, and I'm actually gonna be able to fit that one in there too. So we'll just do both of them. And now I'm gonna put my plate on here. And I'm gonna run this through, and it's gonna snap, crackle, and pop. All right. So now I'm gonna take this off, and I've got these 2 phrases are punched out. You really can't tell what they are because they're not embossed. So if you wanted to simply emboss them now, you would just go back down to your number 1, and then you're gonna lay that word hello. It's gonna kind of sit right where it needs to go. And then I actually did the love you as well. So you can kind of just put those where they go, and they just slide in there real easy. Or you can also do it this way. You can put them in this way, but I feel like this works better. So you just kind of put them in place, and then once you have them where they need to be, whoops, my hands are a little bit sticky from playing today. All right. I swear it didn't take me this long before. Okay, and then you're just gonna close your embossing folder and run that back through. So this is another just way to do single images. You didn't want to do a lot. So there, if you wanted to do tone on tone, everything's embossed now, and it's really, really pretty. So the third way you can do that is with your brayer. And I'm going to set this out of the way for a second and show you how to do that. You could also, if you're going to do a single image, you can just get your sponge dauber, and you want to go on this left side of the where the raised portion is. You can feel it. It's very raised on this side. So this is where you want to have the color. So you could take your ink pad and just press your ink pad directly on here and ink it up like that. Okay. See how well that inked? But you kind of waste a lot of ink that way, in my opinion. You could also use a sponge dauber. And then once you get that down there, you can lay your images back on there, close your folder, and run it through, and it will emboss it. But the way I like to do it, this is great if you want some just plain white, delicate words. But the way I like to do this is with the brayer. I just think if I'm gonna do this, I'd rather just have a whole sheet of the same color, and then I can just keep it in a little envelope and use it over and over. So what I'll do is get my brayer out, and I'm gonna flip it so my legs are sticking up. I'm going to ink it up good. You want to ink all the way around, okay? And then I'm just going to grab my embossing folder and I'm just going to run that brayer all over. And you want to make sure you're covering everything, especially the things that are near these edges. So I kind of get it all covered, and then I'll put a little bit more ink on here and go over it one more time. And I just want to make sure that everything is well covered. All of the letters, that is. You're going to get some on the where the letters aren't, and that's okay. It's not going to matter. So this looks pretty good. Again, I'm using Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to show you a card that I'm going to make using these. So that is inked up really well. I'm finding a safe place to put my brayer until I clean it. All right, now I have a pack of 12 by 12 white paper, which I found if you do this a lot, you might as well get a pack because you can just cut them into 6-inch squares. So each sheet of that 12 by 12 paper would give you 4 sheets of 6 by 6. And where is my 6 by 6? All right, well, I had a 6 by 6. I must have used it. All right, let me cut a 6 by 6 really quick. Okay, here's my 6 by 6 sheet of paper. So I've got this all, put it the right way. This is all inked up. So now I'm going to grab my die and I'm going to lay my die right over my inked area, and it just kind of fits. It only fits really one way. So you just pop it in there. Your fingers are going to get inky, but it'll kind of lock in place. So that's how you know you have it. And then I'm going to get my 6 by 6 paper, and I'm going to just place that in there, and then I'm going to close it. All right. So now you've got that. It's a little sandwich made, right? And I'm going to get my Stampin' Emboss machine back out, my #1 pad, and my #4 pad. So I'm going to feed this in so the edge is in first. And then I'm going to put my #4 plate on top. And I'm going to crank it through. And you're going to see the magic happen. All right. Get this out of the way. Woo! Loud noise, avalanche, dropped my paper cutter. Okay. So now I'm going to pop this all off, and I'm going to take this piece of paper out. And here are all of our sayings cut out on one sheet of paper. So now I can throw this scrap away. And if you want, you can grab take your pick tool and just pop these all off. And then I'll show you what we have. This is a great way to just do a whole bunch at once. And I'm just going to rinse this underwater after the video. So I'm just going to set this aside right now so we don't make a mess. And now I'll show you what we have. So all of these pieces cut and colored at the same time. No stamping necessary. Look at that. And what I'll do, now you could, what I'll do is I'll keep these in a little envelope marked with the color that I inked them with. So this will say Pretty Peacock, and it will be in a folder. So any that I don't use, I have these little clear envelopes. And so I just put them in these clear envelopes and mark the color that I inked it up with. So that way, if I'm making a card and I just want to grab a quick sentiment, I can. All right, so I'm going to grab this Love You because we're going to use this. And I'm going to set these aside to put into my little envelope. I love all these sayings. And I'm going to show you a few different ways that I use these to make a card. I actually have an envelope for this color, so I'm going to grab it and just pop these in here. So now I have them for another time. All right. Oh, there's two more I didn't grab. So I'm going to create a card now just to show you how pretty these are when they all come together. This is with some Lost Lagoon, Pretty Peacock. I already did my inside stamping, and we're going to use this beautiful paper that comes from the Flight and Airy Designer Series paper, which is free in celebration. I love this paper. So we're going to create this card. And look, I just noticed that my scrap has been previously cut, but that's not even going to show on my card, so I'm not going to worry about it. So to make this card, you're going to take and make your basic base, which is going to be 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. Give it a little squish with the bone folder. And now I'm going to grab a slightly smaller piece of, I have two pieces here, so I want to make sure I'm giving you the right one. A piece of Pretty Peacock cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then I cut a piece of Designer Series paper for the bottom, and the bottom is 3 3/4 by 1 3/4. So there's just a narrow margin there. And then I cut the top piece is going to be it's going to be 3 1/4 tall by 3 3/8 wide. And what you're going to do once you cut that, grab my cutter off the floor where it fell. So I cut this again 3 3/8 inches wide so that we can cut 3 equal pieces 1 1/8 inch wide. And you want to do it consecutively because this is going to create a scene. So 1 1/8, and then I'm going to do a second cut that is 1 1/8. And what I did when I cut my paper is I kind of looked at the pictures and I wanted these birds in here. So I kind of made my width so that the birds would fall into it. And then I could make my 3 equal cuts. So there's my cuts. I'm going to set these off camera so I can move this. All right. So we've got our 3 pieces for the top and our 1 piece for the bottom. And then this is our base that's going to be layered on our card front. So I'm going to first adhere this piece down. I'm going to just use, actually I'll just grab, I'm going to use liquid glue since that one's kind of got a little flaw, but you're not going to see it, so it doesn't matter. Just put a little liquid glue down. I love this paper, it's so pretty. And now I'm just going to layer this. On here. The liquid glue gives me a second to kind of make sure it's all even. Look, you can't even tell that had a cut in it. It completely glued down, so perfect. All right, so that's the bottom. And now we're going to be adding these 3 pieces to the top. So this is why you want to make sure that they're kept in the same order. And so I'm going to take my left piece and I'm going to add some liquid glue. Just a little goes a long way. I like to do my left and right piece first. And this, if you do it, cut it at these dimensions, it kind of lines up for you. So I put my first piece there and just kind of make sure my margins are straight. And you can push it up a little bit if you feel like it's too tall or too short. Okay, that's perfect. Now I'm going to grab my outside section and do that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the side. Just lay that down, and then I'm going to make sure I've got everything straight. And so now my middle piece will be easy because I'm just centering it between the 2 outside pieces. I just feel like that's the easiest way to make sure you get everything even. This is a really fun way to use small pieces of scrap Designer Series paper as well. So if you have some and you just want to finish it up, make some of these cards and set them aside for kind of a go-to stack of cards whenever you need something. So there we go. That's done. Look how pretty that is. So pretty. So now I'm going to grab some pretty peacock ribbon. This is the metallic ribbon and it's got some really pretty gold in it. So I'm going to cut a piece off here, a little bit wider than my card. Look how pretty this ribbon is. I love this ribbon. And then I'm going to grab some glue dots. And I'm going to put one on one end, and then I'm going to kind of lay it over the seams where our top section and our bottom section meet, and fold that down. And then I'm just going to add another glue dot to this end. Make sure you put it on the right side. And this is just going to keep your ribbon from moving. Make sure you're straight and then just push it back. So there we go. Easy enough, right? And I just kind of like to build everything from here. So now that I have this piece, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal Plus on this. And I'm just going to put some down. This stuff is super strong. So if I put this on and people are messing with the bow or want to retie it because they accidentally untied it, this is not going to pull up the layers of the card, so it's going to be nice and strong for you. So now you just layer this on the card front like that. Look how pretty. It's pretty just like that. But we're not done yet. So now we're going to grab another piece of this ribbon, and I just like to, I'm going to put a bow on it. You could put just a knot, you could put a bow. I'm going to do a bow. I'm not the greatest bow tire, but it's okay. Nobody's really ever complained that they got a card that had an ugly bow, so I guess it's fine. So I just kind of keep playing around with this until it's pretty enough, right? There we go. I like my bow to be kind of small and my sides to be a little longer. So I just keep moving it. That looks pretty good. And then I'll give my ends a little trim. This is a very delicate ribbon, so you definitely want to trim your ends. So there we go. There's our bow. So now all that's left is, remember we had that love you. So I'm going to put, I have the bow off to the side a little bit. I might move it over just a tad. And this is one way I like doing the bows this way, so I can move them if I need to. So I'm just going to add the love you right here, and I'm going to use some dimensionals. So like I said, this is a really easy way to make a pretty card. And look, I am almost done with the sheet of dimensionals, so I'm just popping on all these little random pieces from the edges just to use it up. And maybe a thin piece right here. Maybe one thing I love about sticky scissors, make sure you use your sticky scissors, your designated sticky scissors, to cut anything that is sticky, because you don't want to mess up your good paper scissors. I'm just cutting a thinner strip right here, because I've got this little piece right here and I don't want it to get mushed in the mail meter. So now I'm just going to remove all these pieces of paper. I think we need one more. Whoops. It's very sticky. I'm going to put, ooh, that one's way too big. This one. I'm just making sure everything's kind of balanced, because I don't want anything popping off. The people in my family like to play with their cards. Okay, there we go. So now that it's raised, you could glue this right down, but I like raising it like that. So maybe I'll do this one straight. There we go. And then for the inside, I just kept it simple. I took a piece of a basic white and I stamped from the bottom of my heart, which comes from the Timeless Arrangements stamp set. And then the same stamp set has these little greenery stamps, so I just did the leaves and the flowers and then just colored the flowers in with an alcohol marker. Simple way to do it. And I'm just going to grab my Stampin' Seal and pop some down here. And then I'm layering it on. So this is, let me give you the dimensions for that. This is going to be 4 by 5 1/4, and then this ended up being like 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 because I wanted it just slightly bigger than my white piece. So I'm going to layer that on there and then attach that to the inside of the card. You could just use one piece of paper. You actually wouldn't need to use any layers because the Lost Lagoon is light enough to write on, so you could just leave it like that. But I liked, because this is kind of a pretty special, like a pretty card, and it's kind of extra special, so I wanted to add that extra pop of color. Okay, so there you go. And then the only thing I would add extra is these are the pretty pink and pretty peacock foil gems, so I'm just going to pop a couple on here. So maybe I'll put a big one here and a couple small ones. There we go, just to give it a little extra pizzazz. So look how pretty. So this was created just by coloring a whole sheet of the embossing folder and then die cutting it using the hybrid, so the dies and the embossing folder work together. So it ended up with a really pretty card. And then here's another one I did. Same thing, I used Calypso Coral and some different designer series paper, added a ribbon, and this hello, I did a sheet of words with Calypso Coral ink, so it all tied in perfectly together, and did some embossing on the layer behind the word hello. And then I actually glued Thinking of You, which I also cut from that same sheet. I glued that right down onto the basic white, and I have got the color onto the basic white just using a blender brush with a little Calypso Coral ink to kind of just give it some color. So there's that card. And then the third card I created using the watercolor watermelons. Yes, the watercolor watermelon set, which is a free set from Celebration. And I colored in the word happy from that hybrid embossing folder. So I stamped it all in basic gray, and then I used an alcohol marker to color in happy, and then used my dimensionals. I stamped off, I used Poppy Parade and Shaded Spruce for the watermelon, and I used the same colors blended onto a layer of basic white to create this green and this red to kind of imitate a piece of watermelon. So that is how that card was created. So here are 3 great ways to use your hybrid embossing folder to create some beautiful cards. And like I said, if you do a whole sheet at a time, you can end up with plenty of sentiments for future cards. Just save them and organize them with your paper so that you have them handy, or just simply put a small piece of paper onto your embossing folder and just create 1 or 2 words at a time if you wish. So there's a lot of versatility with this. I created these cards with hardly any stamping. This card didn't have any stamping whatsoever, and it's stunning. This card just had a very minimal amount of stamping. So you can do these cards as intricate or as simple as you like. But that's how you use the embossing folder, the hybrid embossing folder. And again, it is available in the Spring Mini Catalog that is only out until April 24th or 24th. Wait a minute. April 2024. I'm losing my mind. So at the end of April, these items will disappear when the new catalog comes out. So if you love this, if you think you'll have lots of use for it, don't wait to order it. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that you get notification of my videos that come out on Wednesdays. And all of the instructions for this card, along with the colors I used and some information about the product, will be on my blog at wanderingstamper.com. You can click on the link below for everything you need to know. So thanks for joining me today while we play with these new folders, and I hope you get a chance to craft today. Have a great day.